to the September 8th, 2020 regular meeting of the Roswell Independent School District. I now call this meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please, Ms. Whitcamp?
Hope Morales?
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez?
Yes.
Mona Kirk?
Yes.
James Edwards?
Yes.
We'll now move on with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among the United cultures.
Are there any modifications to the agenda?
Mr. President, there are no modifications to the agenda.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Sanchez with a second by Ms. Kirk. May we get a roll call?
Hope Morales?
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez?
Yes.
Mona Kirk?
Yes.
James Edwards?
Yes.
Okay, the motion has carried. We'll now move on. Ms. Whitcamp, will you please administer the oath of office to Mr. Milburn Dolan, our newly elected board member?
Yes, ma'am. Raise your right hand. I, Melbourne Dolan,
I'm Norman Dolan.
having been duly elected to the office
Having been duly elected to the office
of member of the Roswell Independent School District
of member of the Roswell Independent School District
Board of Education
Board of Education
in the county of Chavez,
in the county of Chavez,
state of New Mexico,
state of New Mexico,
do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution
do solemnly swear that I will affirm the Constitution
of the United States,
of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the state of New Mexico,
the Constitution and the laws of the state of New Mexico,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same,
to the same,
and defend them against all enemies,
and to defend them against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially discharge
and impartially discharge
the duties of said office
the duties of said office
of school board member
of school board member
according to the best ability, according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. We
Thank
were
you.
not,
Congratulations. Welcome. Welcome aboard again.
we were not able to have a judge join us tonight for that, so Ms. Whitcamp went ahead and did the oath for us.
That works for me.
Okay, we will now go into executive session. May I have a motion to go into executive session regarding personally identifiable information about individual students and staff where no action will be taken?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion made by Ms. Kirk and a second made by Mr. Edwards to go into executive session. May I have a roll call vote?
Hope Morales,
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez,
Yes.
Mona Kirk,
Yes.
James Edwards,
Yes.
Milburn Dolan,
Yes.
The ayes have it and the motion carried to go into executive session where no action will be taken.
6:03.
The session began at 6:03. May I have a motion to end the executive session regarding personally identifiable information about individual students and staff where no action was taken and return to the regular session?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
And may I have a roll call, please?
Hope Morales,
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez,
Yes.
Mona Kirk,
Yes.
James Edwards,
Yes.
Milburn Dolan,
Yes.
The ayes have it, and the motion carried to end the executive session where no action was taken and return to the regular session. And the executive session ended at 6:34.
May I ask who made the motion and who seconded it, please?
Yes, ma'am. So we had a motion by Mr. Edwards.
Mm-hmm. And a second by Ms. Sanchez.
Thank you. And a second by Ms. Sanchez. Now we're moving on to recognition. Tonight, we would like to recognize Lucy Morgan, Harold Pleasant, and Brian Yates for their dedication and service to the Roswell Independent School District.
Team Awesome.
You have your certificate?
Yes.
Okay, so it hasn't. Come on up, guys. 6 feet apart. And I want to throw Royce in this too, but that's beside the point. I'm sorry, Harold. Mr. President, members of the board, there are 4 tech people. We have a lot of wonderful tech people that spend a lot of time in our buildings, helping kids, helping teachers, helping other staff members with all the issues that technology has nowadays. So, but as you well know, the first 4 days of school was quite difficult to start off with one program. Everything else was pretty much working except one program. And I put a lot of pressure on the 4 people that are in here. They don't like me seen walking in their offices or looking them down, I promise you. They don't like to look on my face because I can just see it in Lucy's eyes. She says, oh, not again. So they spend a lot of hours, weekends, nights, working on this, trying to get a hold of the company. The group were able to work with the PED in a roundabout way, and we were able to get the information, and we were up in 4 days. So a lot of work, a lot of pressure put on. We couldn't figure out many issues. It would accept about 70% of the kids, and 30%, they weren't even there. Who knows why? But I want to acknowledge them to the board and say thank you again for all they've done, and we appreciate your efforts.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias. Thank you.
How about a fist bump?
Thank you. Here we go.
So my wife is Carol. She appreciates you.
Don't leave yet.
Oh, yeah, sorry. It's still a fist bump, not virtual.
Don't leave yet.
Thank
I
you.
want to say things to you. Thank you.
And Royce, thank you again also.
Yes, thank you, Royce.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, and thank you for coming tonight. We sure
Team
appreciate
awesome.
it.
And waiting out our delay.
We will now have inquiries and general comments. Ms. Whitcamp, has anyone requested to speak?
No, they have not.
Moving on to informational items. Do we have informational items tonight?
Mr. President, members of the board, yes, we have information tonight. Would we like to bring on Canvas, the program we were just talking about? And we have some staff here that will virtually present. And Nick is here, Jerry Foam is going to do it virtually, and Jennifer is too on the Canvas program. What the program looks like, some teachers' web pages, what you see when you go online with Canvas. And I know, Ms. Kirk, you've seen this because you have a high school kiddo. Yep. It's all yours, Nick.
Hello, members of the board. My name is Nick Biggs. I teach social studies at Early College High School, and I coach boys soccer at Roswell High. With me is my wife, Catherine Biggs, and she teaches 6th, 7th, and 8th grade history at Sierra Middle School. And she's been the one that's got to experience the joy of training the district all month, last month.
That's both of you, so don't.
No, she did help with them as well, so.
Nice.
Last month, we did a total of, I helped with 19 trainings within the district, with administrators and teachers. And I'm gonna show you a little bit of what we went over with some of the staff, and then I can also show you some of the student side as well as how parents can walk through so that they can have the parent side. Unfortunately, I can't show you that. I'm not able to get it on my laptop for my 2 kiddos, but it will look very similar to the student side. So on this slide right here, this is gonna be what's the dashboard. This is the first thing that teachers, parents, and students will see as soon as they log into Canvas. It's gonna have a list of every course that, the teachers are enrolled in as a teacher or a co-teacher, every course that students are enrolled in through PowerSchool. And then, if a parent is listed as an observer, they'll see every course that their child that they're observing is enrolled in. On this far side right here are some of the key, icons that parents would need. And this is set up the exact same, for the students. If they go to account, for parents in their, so if they're in their child's account and they click on this account button, if they go to settings, and then right here it would say, it's going to give them a link, it's going to give them an option to get a student, it's not going to show on my side, I'm sorry. It's going to have a link with student account. It should be right here where mine says observing, but since I'm in as a teacher and a parent, mine has shifted. If they click right here, it's going to give them a linked code where in the Canvas parent app, they'll type in that code, and then it gives them access to their child's account.
So we logged into our son's account on our phone, and on the parent field where it says settings under the child's account, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there is an option that says pair with observer. So we can't see that on Nick's side because we're under a teacher account, but under the parent, under the settings section on the student's account, there's a button at the bottom that says pair with observer. And then when the parent clicks that, it will give them a code that they have to enter into the Canvas parent app, and that will allow them access to see what their child sees.
Okay.
So if we go back to the main screen for everybody in Canvas, so teachers have these options. Students have them as well. Most of them, they won't have admin and they don't have courses. That's just a teacher option. But this calendar feature right here, this will show up on the student side and parent side. This is going to show every assignment that has been assigned to students in all of their classes. So what's showing right here, my first, second, and third period at early college, and then my 4 courses of soccer at Roswell High. But parents can go in here and see what the assignment is, the time that it's due, and the date that it's due. So the communication is much better between the parents and students and teachers. The next nice feature, at least for the teacher side, that I really enjoy is the inbox. This is linked to my district Outlook email. So if a student emails me in Canvas, it goes right to my Outlook email, which is on my phone and my computer. So they always have access to me, even if I'm not at the house or in front of a computer.
So does it, once they complete the assignment, can the child go in there and click on it to say completed?
As soon as they submit something, it should look like these where they're crossed
Gotcha.
out.
Okay,
And then that will show that something has been submitted.
okay.
Can the parents see the grade that they got for that particular assignment?
So within the calendar, if they click on this, it should take them into the assignment. I don't want it to go into my grade book and
Okay. yeah,
accidentally show something I'm not supposed to.
Okay.
But if not,
Thank
if they
you.
just, when we get into the course, there is a grade book option.
Okay.
So knowing my luck, if I clicked it, I'd end up getting in trouble for something. Yes, ma'am.
Going back, you were talking about the inbox and you connected it with your Outlook. Is that a step teachers have to do, or is it automatically?
No, it is automatically done when the teacher's account is created within Canvas.
There's also an option on the Teacher Canvas app. So I have the app on my phone, and it allows me, when the students submit assignments, I can grade their assignments off of my phone. So that's really nice as a teacher. And then that inbox notification, I set up my settings to where I'm notified via one of the push notifications. So I can see as soon as a student sends me a message, it says, student such and such from period 6 has sent you a message in the inbox. So I can see that right away as well.
And you said that inbox button is available on the student page?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, the teachers and students have it. And then I believe in the parent app, they can access that as well. The next option on here for teachers is called the Commons. Within this, any teacher, either in higher education or K-12, They can share courses that they've created or assignments that they've created, and then any teacher is allowed to go in and download it to use it. This is something that we did recommend with teachers when we were doing trainings, just so that they could get started with Canvas, and it was just a little less overwhelming if they were able to just go in and pull someone's created assignment.
This is really similar to those of us that have been in the district a while when we had Promethean Planet, that type of marketplace. So you can go there and you can download different resources. Some teachers have downloaded individual lessons, and some teachers have downloaded their entire courses. We were able to find different content for all kinds of teachers. I found a bunch for my music department.
Have downloaded individual lessons, and some teachers have downloaded their entire courses. We were able to find different content for all kinds of teachers. I found a bunch for my music department.
Ooh, that was interesting.
Thank you, Nicole.
Okay, so there are quite a few options within the Canvas Commons for teachers to look and get ideas or to see different lessons or courses that have already been created.
So some of our teachers are using Apex for this type of stuff. Is there a reason why they're doing it through Apex rather than here? Is it better? or
Isn't Apex paired with Canvas
Okay.
or embedded in
Canvas is our learning management system.
system?
It's the system.
Right.
You have Seesaw, you have some teachers using
Everything
Google.
embedded,
You have
right.
Apex in
Okay.
there. So you have a variety of things that teachers can bring in, such as the bigs have brought into theirs. So you gotta remember, Canvas is our management system. That's why it was so critical
That was up.
that was up and running so that they could get this all together.
Okay.
So it separate that from a structured lesson. This manages everything.
Right.
Sorry, Nate.
No, you're good. The next feature that's really nice, this is the first year that us at Early College have even seen this feature within Canvas. It's the studio option. This allows teachers can store videos from YouTube or we can record ourselves on our computers. Another really nice feature is students have access to this. So if they're on the road with a family trip and they just have their cell phone, they can record themselves answering questions to a worksheet or a presentation and then submit that video recording to the teacher. So we do have that option to where if they don't have access to a computer all the time, they can still submit work or have some sort of way of communicating through a group or something like that within the class. And then the last feature on here is the help icon. This is something that when teachers or students have issues that they're running into with Canvas, this is something that Canvas keeps up with most common asked questions throughout the country that have been asked. So it goes into this Search Canvas Guides area, where if teachers click on that, they type in their question in a search bar, it will take them to discussion threads that Canvas community members have had. Another really nice feature that is new this year is this New Mexico Canvas Resource Center. This is for teachers when the PED was doing their Canvas 101, 102, 103. All of that information has been saved into this area for teachers to go back into and access whenever they need it. So they do always have a way of going back into that information.
Nice.
One thing with teachers, if they're running into an issue that they're not sure what's going on, if they go to this report a problem, they get to type in the subject, a description, and then select how it's affecting them and their students. As soon as they click Submit Ticket, it automatically opens it up with Canvas, and then on average, it's about 48 to 72 hours before you'll get a response. But Canvas will walk them through what the issue is, if it's something that they're maybe doing wrong on their side, or if it's something that Canvas can fix themselves. So that's something that we do ask a lot of teachers just to try, and they're always welcome to email me, but working at 2 schools and everything, it's hard to keep up with some of them, but they are always more than welcome to ask me, but they might get referred to this option. And then what we'll do now is we're going to go ahead and go into a class so you can see the teacher side, and then we will show you what the student and parent side is going to look like.
So Canvas is, well, let me back up. Last year during quarter 4, a bunch of schools decided to use Google Classroom, and it was an excellent tool. And it was interesting because Nick and I were both working off of the different platforms at home. I kept using Google Classroom. He was using Canvas because they already had it at early college. And we kept seeing these major differences. Canvas is much more customizable than Google Classroom. This option, so like Nick's homepage is his recent announcements, and then scrolling down, he's got a photo and then some buttons for his students to click on for easier access to things, so they don't have to worry about where do I go here, what should I do. He has part of his thing is at the beginning of each day, you need to look at your weekly lesson plan. These are all different pages set up within Canvas, so there is a little bit of maneuvering within those, and you have to customize those the way that you'd like them. But this is, his students have already given him really excellent feedback that this is great. I just log on to the homepage and I know exactly where I'm supposed to go. So this is his weekly lesson plan. And he gives them instructions on what to do, and they kind of get their week at a glance. This has already been really helpful for students who know that they have to travel out of town, or Mr. Biggs, I have a doctor's appointment on Tuesday, what are we doing? That's been really helpful. When we go into student view, all the tabs you see on the left that are blue, like home, syllabus, announcements, those types of things, those will disappear from the student view. Or I'm sorry, the ones that have the little eyeball with the slash through it. Those will disappear from the student view. They won't see any of those things on their side. With it being customizable, each teacher can kind of do whatever they want. So like my homepage is a little different. Today is International Literacy Day, so our guests on the Bitmoji couch were some of my favorite authors. I couldn't just pick one, so right. I picked quite a few. So my buttons are a little bit different than Nick's. I attached mine to different objects, so my students can click on the boombox for the weekly agenda, and then mine attaches to a Word document. Yes, that's my Bitmoji.
You've seen her stuff because I've sent it to you, so you know what professional development is.
Yes, yes.
So when you see this emoji, you know that's Mrs.
Biggs, okay.
stuff. So you've seen quite a bit of that. She's done a lot of professional development.
So maybe this is a question, I don't know if y'all, Mr. and Ms. Biggs, you can answer it, but does everybody have a weekly agenda? Does every teacher post a weekly agenda? Or would that be a Jennifer Cole question?
I think right now that's a building decision. At Sierra, we did a summer academy at the beginning of the year, kind of to get our 6th graders introduced to some more virtual learning aspects. And that was something we decided as a building. I think Nick kind of just decided on his own, especially with all the teaching at both schools and different things right now. It was just a matter of structuring our lives a little bit.
So, board, let me answer that real quick. Okay, you're talking a management system that I've talked to some college professors, and they're not comfortable for 2 years. Our poor teachers have had 5 weeks, maybe 6 at the very, very most.
Right.
So they're still learning as this process. That's why you keep seeing professional development,
Thank you.
development,
Okay.
professional development. However, there are many teachers that have already getting to this point and understand what they want to do and need to do.
Okay.
Down the road, because the state wants to keep this in place down the road, not just for the COVID time, so that if kids can look at it at a glance at a week, you have somebody that's home ill, they're gone on a trip, you don't have all that makeup work to do.
Nice.
It's already there.
Nice.
So that's why the State Department said this is something we want to invest for the state of New Mexico, not just Roswell, but for the state of New Mexico. So these are some of those things that we're going to be learning as we go through,
Okay.
as the process goes. So it's quite a system to get through. And as you well know with technology, some people get a little bit faster than others.
That's the way it was with Promethean boards.
That's exactly right. Or Apple One.
Yeah.
One of the other things that's customizable is how you set up your components within the class. So for my modules, I have mine set up by learning unit. So right now, we're working on continents and oceans, but I went ahead and put in the rest of my, the learning units we have for 6th grade social studies. One of the features, you can name your module, whatever you'd like, and then you can add different tabs within that. So where it says day 1, if I decide eventually that I don't want to call it day 1 of the Mesopotamia unit, I can change it to week of, and then all the student resources are right there within that week. The little green check mark on the sides means that that is ready to go and published. However, there is a circle at the top of the module title that is empty. I do not have that published right now because if I publish it, the students can see it right away. There's nothing for them to do in there yet, so I don't need to have that published at this time. I do have another teacher at Sierra who is titling her modules by weeks. And then the students have all the resources they need for Monday or Tuesday. And then with us not having Zoom meetings on Wednesdays, that has been really nice for the students to be able to just log in, go to modules, and see what they need to do on those particular Wednesdays. Nick has, oh, sorry, Ms. Morales.
Can you help me understand? I'm still a little bit confused because I like how you did your activities here. Could you have chosen to put these in Apex in the same way?
I cannot. Apex is a completely different program, and I don't have access to, I'm not one of the Apex teachers in my building. I don't have
Okay,
access
so-
to that,
Okay.
and that might be a better Mr. Gottlieb question.
Okay, Apex, okay, that's for our students that are online, and they're learning online course only.
No, but we
only.
have some,
Now, we have some teachers that are
Yes.
taking modules, because I told the board, that's one of the nice things that when we purchased Apex, if they want to do a SAT preparation, they can take and assign that preparation to their students. That was one of the nice things. Let's say Brian at Goddard wants to pull something off of an AP course for mathematics, and he says that is a great lesson in physics. He might pull that off.
because Apex
And
already has it there.
It's already
And
there.
you're creating
And
this yourself.
instead of creating that whole monster, now,
Okay,
we gave them the opportunity, we didn't say they had to do that, but it's there if they want.
gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Another part that I really like is this kind of outlines and almost makes up my lesson plans for me. I tend to think a little bit more linearly as my teaching career has gone on. I'm only in my 11th year, but this outline style definitely suits my brain a little bit better. So that's how I structure my modules. Nick structures his a little bit differently. They have the 90-minute class periods at early college, and so he does his by day. And that way, when the students are absent, they're like, oh, I was absent September 8th. They go and click on the tab, and then there are all the activities they had for the day of September 8th. There are different assignment styles you can create inside the modules. There are assignments where you can load PDFs, you can have the students type their response, there's some video components. There are a lot of different ways that the students can respond to those. There's a text entry, so if a student needs to just type their response to you, they can also do something on Google product and then submit the URL. The media recordings that Nick was talking about with the studio feature, and then there's a file upload for like a Word document or other Word product.
So do they give you an option of putting a time stamp on it so it's due by?
Yes, ma'am.
And then if it's not, then they can't access it?
So you do have that option to where at a certain time, you can make this assignment disappear from the student side. I do not set that up for mine. But right here, it has the due date and the due time for the assignments. I make all mine, my assignments mostly due at 11:59, just to give the students time, since they're still at home. I struggle to get all my work done when I'm at home, so I can only imagine for them. So that's why I give them to 11:59, but these assignments never disappear from the student side.
Okay.
But there is a feature within Canvas where the teachers can make it appear and disappear at a certain date or time. But I personally have stayed away from it.
Thank you.
There's an announcement feature that teachers can create an announcement, and it goes to the students. That can be the first thing they see when they log in. When we were having some technology issues on my side, I don't know what was going on with our internet that day, but I was able to get just enough signal to send an announcement and tell my kids, hey guys, Zoom isn't working right now. Keep checking back, keep refreshing your page. I'll see you when I can. And it was a really effective tool to just communicate with them very quickly.
Nice.
Another feature that I like about Canvas is the discussion board feature. In a lot of, definitely in Nick's master's classes right now and college classes that we've both taken, there's a discussion board platform, and this allows the students to interact. I've noticed in particular with my cohort of students, my kiddos who are typically quieter in a more traditional setting have found a little bit bolder voice on the discussion board because they're not necessarily as intimidated like they would be speaking out in the classroom. I think it's a great tool, especially for my 8th graders as they get ready to move into secondary or higher education because colleges use discussion boards. And so if we can teach them how to interact appropriately and respectfully through this digital format, I think that's a really strong way for them to interact with each other.
Can the parents look at the attendance for that class?
So if the teacher decides to use the attendance feature within Canvas, I believe the parents can. I only use this just as documentation for if students reach out to me, because the attendance part will not sync with PowerSchool.
Okay.
So that's something, it's all documentation for me.
Okay.
If we don't Zoom on Wednesdays, I'll mark which ones emailed me, which ones submitted work. That way, it's a tool for me to use if I need to refer back to it one day.
And do you share that information with the secretary at the school, or?
No, ma'am. All of my official attendance will go through PowerSchool.
Gotcha.
Ms. Sanchez, the reason that is that way is the state statute on that is we have to go through the SIS system, Student Information System, and that is the true record for the board of how attendance is going or not going.
Okay.
And that's how you're funded.
Okay. Thank you.
There is a feature on the teacher side called Student View. One of the things that we have definitely learned through the Q4 last year and as we started this year was that the students don't often see what we see on the teacher side. So doing this Student View option allows me as the teacher to go in and say, okay, this is what the kids will see. Oh, darn it, I forgot to publish that module. No wonder they can't open their assignment. That tool has already come in handy multiple times. It also has worked really well in our Zoom sessions where I can share screen with the kids and show them, hey, this is what you should be seeing. I have had a couple of students that have Chromebooks, and they're like, Ms. Biggs, it looks different on a Chromebook than it does on your laptop. Or Ms. Biggs, I'm using a tablet today instead. And so the Student View has been helpful so we can figure out how to help them a little bit more and figure out those pieces as well.
So within the parent side, if you can see this red icon right here, this shows that the assignment, the due date has passed. It doesn't matter if the student has submitted it or not, it's gonna always show this for the parents. That way it's just something that they can go back through and then they can click on the title of this assignment and then it will show them if their child has submitted an assignment for this one.
Or the date it was submitted?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, and it will timestamp it, it puts the date, everything on there so that we don't have I left it at home or I turned it in, it was lost. This eliminates all of those.
And Nick, let me add some on to that. I gave a problem to Royce to figure out, and he was able to figure out. We were having kids that were online doing their work, but were taking notes and then writing what they needed to write, and then it timed out. It went to the black screen, is screensaver type situation. So Royce went in and figured how to do that for the whole district, how to turn that off remotely to all 9,000 plus computers. And so and this was happening more in the high school, so you two, with your high school
I've
kiddos.
already had that, yeah.
We've had some issues with that, and I've had several parents call me and said, hey, they were getting ready to submit, they were doing some stuff, and we lost it all. What's going on? So I had Royce figure out a way how to turn that off on remotely with all the computers. So if you hear somebody say that now, no, that's not true.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
And that was Wednesday of last week.
Okay.
That's what we have to show you. Are there any other questions that you have for us?
Yes, I have one. So on the calendar in Canvas, on the student side, will it just show the individual teacher, or is there a collection? If every teacher uses Canvas, not Apex, but Canvas, will my child see each teacher's assignment?
So on this calendar toolbar on the right, this is going to show every course that they are enrolled in.
Okay.
So if they scroll through, how I have the colored options, means I have these 3 courses showing up on the calendar.
Okay.
But this is only going to show courses that they are enrolled in as a
Enrolled in.
student.
Okay, so the assignments will be posted there all together.
Yes, and they are color coordinated, so
Good.
each
Okay.
class will stay the same color
Perfect.
throughout the calendar.
Okay. That helps me out.
I'm gonna have to tell that boy you're checking up on them.
Oh, he knows.
So I don't have a question, but I watch my grandkids, and I cannot say enough for the teachers being able to adapt on the fly, or sit there and try and get little Johnny to press the unmute button, you know, and keep the children engaged. What I saw was they did a great job, and for doing this on the fly, you know, I commend them all.
Yeah,
Great job, Mike.
And-
Absolutely.
No, great job, teachers, because they've picked this up and said, we don't have a choice in this, we're gonna figure out a way, and they've literally figured out a way how to do this. So again, as I told you early on when we started, your teachers are representing you real well. They're trying their very best, they're doing the best that they can. And here's 2 examples of teachers that have gone
yeah.
to that extra point to try to do that. And so, just to let you know, you should be proud of your staff. They're working hard. They're trying to do all the right things in a sense for kids and get that information out.
Incredible. Thank you so much. Excellent. Thank you for agreeing to present.
And Royce, I have one more question that's for you, I think, and, I actually have 2 quick ones. Mr. Biggs, about how many teachers have contacted you so far with questions or support or things like that?
On average, I call after school probably 4 or 5 teachers every day that have emailed me with questions that I've actually been able to build a pretty good relationship with through working with this. But I get phone calls, emails almost every day from teachers throughout the district.
I just want to express my gratitude, taking 4 to 5 teacher calls at the end of the day on your own personal time, the trainings you're doing on Wednesdays when you could be preparing for your own class, that's huge. And you guys shared lots of best practices, so thank you so much for that. And then,
Thank you.
Royce, I had a question about the elementary curriculum. Is it not pairing correctly with Canvas?
I could not answer that. I
Okay.
was
We'll
not
have to
aware
get
of that. I
Jennifer
thought
on
we
that.
got
Okay.
those all in.
And I think it's only parts of the math and parts of the science. It's not all of it, but we'll let Jennifer answer that.
Okay,
Because there's some connection problems with the new math, I believe it was, but I'll let her verify that. Okay?
Hi, President Morales, I'm sorry about that. So yes, we are having a few issues with the pairing of our new Envision Math program and also of Amplify Science. And so with Amplify, we're finding that Mr. Yates just has to go in and activate if there's an issue with certain teachers. So for example, some of our gifted teachers in the elementary were needing access, and so he activated that for them, and I think that they're all okay now. And so Royce or Brian would really have to speak more to the technology piece with the Envision. So there's I think it's called the Easy Bridge, that it kind of, I think that it's like a middle type thing, so it talks to Canvas, and it's like the go-between. So sorry, I'm not a tech person, but I do think that we have the majority of those issues ironed out. I did see one email come through this morning that I forwarded on to Royce and Brian, but I think that just about everybody has access to those two programs now.
So what's happening, board, is you allow the district to select, I don't like the word adopt, but select a new company, like we did math, we did science, we did the phonics. What's happening is now it's coming along, all the electronic portion of it. So you almost, you have your book and your ditto, not ditto, boy, that show my age.
Right?
Wow. Your copies, those things that you can make, it's also now electronic. But what most people don't realize, that's just not an automatic. Just because it's electronic, that doesn't mean it's automatically going to turn on. So each time you add something, it has to go through the system, allow it to turn on. And some of the problems that we're finding is our system, for the safety of our kids, will not let some things come online. Now, if it's something educational, they'll contact either Jennifer, or Jennifer will contact Royce and his department and say, please look at this site, we need this for educational purposes. Otherwise, we're going to maintain that strict control by federal regulation and state law to keep us all safe and keep our kids safe. And that's critical from predators and things that they shouldn't be seen online. It's a good question, Ms. Morales, thank you.
Ms. Cole, I think Envision Math does connect with Google Classrooms right now, so if that's the case, if they're having trouble with it connecting, should they email you? And if they're having trouble in the meantime, can they use Google Classroom since it is connected with that platform?
Yes, so Envision Math does integrate with Google Classroom very well. And that was one of the things we knew about it when we purchased that product. And yes, they can email me. They can email Jennifer Bolaños, has been doing lots of work with Canvas and the implementation of that and some of our other programs. Or they could email Mr. Bolaños, and he would connect them. So three different people over here that they can contact if they need to.
Thank you, Ms. Cole.
You're welcome.
We were going to talk about this a little bit later, but since we're on this issue board, there is going to start a Thursday Parent Connect at night, where parents can email or call in questions. Jennifer, why don't you talk about that, please?
Yes, sir. So we are just finalizing a schedule that we are going to offer some open Zoom meetings for parents, and each session will have a little title. So, for example, one of the meetings will be on attendance, another one will be on Zoom, and there won't be just one. We'll have multiple meetings, and they'll be ongoing, and we'll do them at a variety of times throughout the day. So I'm sorry I don't have the schedule right in front of me, but we are offering two starting this Thursday. We'll have one on Friday, and then we'll just continue to do that, and we'll advertise it out on social media and on the website, and of course send the information to our building principals so that parents can always contact somebody over here with questions.
Pardon me, will those be recorded so we can view them at a later time?
Yes, we can make that happen.
Thank you.
Particularly since the next part I'll talk to you later is about Zoom, so
Okay.
we'll let Mr. Royce talk about that. But we have another person to present tonight, board members. This longtime friend and just longtime good guy. Be quite honest, Danny Herrera, who's been helping our kids for as long as I can remember. And I don't think we've ever brought him to the board to talk about his program.
Thank you, Danny.
Danny, welcome,
Thanks, sir.
as always. Even if at the car wash.
Yes, gotta keep them clean. Thank y'all for inviting me. Like I said, this is the first time that I've been here to talk about TRIO. The handout that I gave y'all just kind of gives you an overview of what we do with the students in the school district. But I want to give y'all a little bit of history on TRIO. We've been in the community since 1991. For 29 years, we've been coming into the Roswell School District. We service our 4 high schools with Roswell, Goddard, Early College now, and University High, and our 4 middle schools. We service over 1,000 students.
plus the surrounding area. We also go into Artesia, Hondo, Carrizoso. So there's a lot of areas that we service besides just the Roswell School District. But like I say, we've been doing it for the last 29 years. I'm trying to look at my notes here. One of the things that we do in the middle schools is we service 6th through 8th graders, and the biggest thing that we do there is we do peer tutoring, where we go in and we set up classrooms with 8th graders that we actually interview and select with the help of the principals and teachers there, and we set up peer tutoring for students that are struggling in different areas. And feel free to stop me and ask me any questions as y'all go. That way I'm trying to read my notes here. What we do in the middle school is when we set those programs up, we have 4 program specialists along with myself that go in and work with the students. And we try to go into the schools that we service at least once a week. So at the schools that we're attending where we have these peer tutorings in the middle schools, at least once a week, one of our program specialists goes in and meets with the students one-on-one to see how they're doing academically. Because along with not just setting up the peer tutoring, we want to see that they're making academic progress. And if they're not making academic progress, then we want to know why, and so we can help that student improve. What I also like about when we go in and meet with the students, we always look at students and say, oh, this is what you're struggling with. But not only do we address when they're struggling with things, but also when these students are making improvements. And because I think it's important not only to tell them when they're struggling, but also let them know when they're doing well. In the high schools, what we do is we service 9th through 12th grade. 9th through 11th grade, we predominantly do academic counseling. We meet with the students there, and we see how they're doing, how they're progressing. And again, if we see that there's a problem, we address the problem, meet with counselors and teachers, and whatever we need to do to help that student. One of the things also that we do at the high school, we've been having some peer tutoring in the algebra classes the last several years, where we'll go in and we'll select a junior or senior that the schedule works with them, and we actually put them in an algebra class, and they will sit with 3 to 4 students that they will assist every day in that math class. And we've had real good results in actually all our tutoring programs. We've had students that have improved they've come from C and D students to ABC students. The biggest thing that though we do with the seniors, with seniors in the high school, is we assist them in doing whatever they need to get into the college of their choice. We assist them from anywhere from registering for the ACT, doing admissions, financial aid, and once we help them get all that done, we also follow up with the student, make sure that they have been accepted, that they have gotten their financial aid done, that they've also done whatever additional paperwork that they need from that school, whether it's UNM, Eastern and Roswell, or Portales, whatever college that this student decides to go to, we assist them in doing whatever paperwork is necessary to complete it. Up through, and some of them a lot of times, depending on the work of the student and how much they contact us, all the way through being awarded. Another thing that we do here with the school district, we also set up financial aid nights with our financial aid people through Eastern, where we usually set one up in the fall and we set one up in the spring at Roswell and Goddard, and we invite all the high schools. They can go to either one of them. We set it up where we come in, parents and students come in, and we help them do their financial aid. This year, I'm not sure how we're going to do that, but we will figure something out. It's like everything. We're doing everything as we need to. We're not sure how we're going to do it, but we'll meet with the principals and set that up. Speaking about the principals at Roswell and Goddard, I've already sent them some brochures. Well, I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself. I've sent them some brochures that they're putting on their websites. So if students are interested in tutoring or needing help or any assistance from TRIO, they can go to that website and have information to contact us. The other thing that we've been talking about at the high schools is setting up tutoring programs. And what we're trying to get established is a tutoring program, which we're still trying to figure it out, to be honest with y'all. We're thinking about doing some during the day, doing some peer tutoring after school, during school, where we're hoping to find juniors and seniors from the high school with good GPAs that can help anywhere from 6th grade through seniors, assist whatever students that are TRIO students, help them in whatever they need to accomplish to improve in the grades. We're in the process now of them sending out applications to the students to apply, so that way we can find out what students are interested. Once we get the tutors, and then we can start looking at schedules and see what we can set up. But that's where we are as far as trying to set something up as far as tutoring this year. And we'll be meeting with the principals also and discussing financial aid nights with them. Trying to think, what else I'm missing?
Ms.
Oh,
Ferreira,
yes,
are you gonna be able to do any of this online if we're not able to get back to the school as soon as we like?
that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna figure out how to do, something online.
Yeah.
Whether we set up at the schools
Yeah.
and let them zoom into us to assist them.
Yeah.
Those are the things that we're trying to figure out. But before I can do all that, I've gotta get some things set in place so that way I can know, I have an idea which way to go. Are we talking about the tutoring or the financial aid or both?
My question, I think, was more around the peer tutoring.
Oh, yeah, the peer
Yeah.
tutoring, once we get the students hired that we know that we can use, then we can start scheduling them. Because some students may be able to work from 2 to 4.
Yeah.
Or depending on their schedules, if some of the, I know at Roswell High, we have some of them where we might be able to do it in a classroom where a teacher's already set up to help other students. Maybe we can put a tutor in there.
Yeah.
And then contact the student, or through the teacher and the peer tutor, and do it that way. Some of it, we also want to try to do something after school for those students who can't get in at those particular times. So, but once we get the tutors and we have figured out a time frame that we can set them up, then we'll be able to
Yeah.
address some of those
Awesome,
things.
thank you.
One of the things that we do during the school, which we didn't do this past year, but during the summer, we usually run 2 summer camps. We run a 6th through 8th grade summer camp where we take our trio students from the 4 middle schools and we bring them onto the campus for a whole week where we tour them around the campus. We show them different career options. And during that week, not only do we take them to college visits, not only on our campus but others, but we also provide a lot of educational field trips. We've taken them anywhere from, I know it seems, we take them horseback riding, which a lot of these kids, this is part of the culture here. We take them to the Museum of Natural History. We've taken them to the zoo in Albuquerque. There's a lot of things that we do for our trio students, with our summer camp. The other summer camp we have is usually for our high school students that are 9th through 12th grade. We take them during that week, we visit campuses all through New Mexico. We take them UNM, Eastern, Roswell, Eastern, New Mexico State, New Mexico Highlands, Doñana. We schedule a lot of campus visits with students also. I think I went pretty fast, but is there any questions?
Yes, I have a few.
Okay.
So TRIO, is that an acronym?
TRIO is something that they set up years ago, and it was TRIO because it was first started, there was 3 TRIO programs. Now there's a lot more TRIO programs. For example, on our campus, TRIO is our umbrella where we have 4 different TRIO programs that fall under it. We have ours, which is Educational Talent Search, where we service 6th through 12th grade students. Then we have also our Upward Bound program
Okay.
that also comes in and services 9th through 12th grade.
Okay.
And theirs are limited to 50 students that they service. So theirs is a lot more intense. And then we have another program that's the Educational Opportunity Center, which handles our adult population in Roswell. And then we have Student Support Services, which is on our campus that handles our college students that are on our eastern campus.
So as you were going through explaining it, wow, this sounds a lot like Upward Bound. I wonder if it took place.
Yes, Upward
But
Bound is
it's
part of one of
part
our,
of it.
our
Okay.
TRIO programs.
How many students do you service?
We service 1,000 students
1,000 within Roswell?
within Roswell and the surrounding area. We
surrounding-
also go into.
Chaves County?
Yes,
Okay. The Valley School?
yes.
What is so your maximum capacity then is 1,000?
We service 1,000, but in all reality, we usually go anywhere between 11 to 12.
So is this a federally funded
It
program?
is a federally funded program which I should have told you. It's a federally funded program that's set up to help students who are first generation who meet certain income guidelines. But that being said, if any student comes in and asks for help, we've never turned a student away for
So
not meeting
completing the
certain criteria.
census and using that census money that helps federally funded programs helps this program.
Yes.
Just wanted to get that pitch in there.
Yes.
So how do you choose your students?
Well, in the middle schools for our tutoring programs, what we do is we work with the counselors and the principals, and we go in and we explain, we get a class set up, and then what they do is they send out an email to their teachers, and they start referring students to us.
Referencing, yeah.
Once they refer them to us, then
Referrals.
we meet with the student individually, and we send paperwork with the student home to the parents, so that way they know that what they're getting involved in.
Nice. Thank you.
And, in the high schools, a lot of them, the counselors refer students to us, and then we'll pull them and visit with the student and offer them our services.
Nice. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Well, as you can see, Danny provides a lot of service to our kiddos, and that's the important part. Most people don't realize all the different things or opportunities that our good friend Eastern helps us out a lot. And this is one of the many big programs, and I had not thought about this until I saw Danny we were washing our cars.
Yes.
And I said, Danny, I bet you we need to bring the board together on this and have them understand what's going on with the TRIO program. And so, a new education program for all of us. So, Danny, as always,
Thank you.
thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can stay for the rest of the meeting, too. You can sit down right there.
Excellent job. Thank you, Danny.
Now, can I say something about Danny right quick? I've known Danny for, probably half my life, right, Danny?
Yes, it's been.
And I'm gonna tell you, he goes above and beyond to help kids, because I've witnessed it firsthand. Kids that, he's told me I need to go a little bit easier on. And you know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
I'm too hard on him. But Danny is a good judgment of character, and I'm gonna tell you, he's done a lot for a lot of these kids in Chaves County, and a lot of times he doesn't get the credit that's due. You know, we used to have a nickname, and it was Danny Herrera and Frank Pino. When they used to go to the boys club, which that's unusual, because you don't have people going to the old boys club where I grew up. We used to call him Miami Vice, because he was a little bit younger.
I heard a lot of things about you, Danny, but not that one.
Yeah. But that's the nickname we used to say when they'd come in. Hey, look at Miami Vice coming in, because he was always dressed sharp.
Yeah.
Hey, no problem.
Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it. Thank you for coming again. Judge, welcome. We're sorry we got our lines crossed. We're glad you're here.
Well, would you like me to swear in as Mr. Dolan?
Yeah,
Officially,
We want to
yes.
make sure.
Absolutely,
yeah,
yes.
we gotta make sure.
Do you have,
You don't mind repeating?
No,
policy was the secretary, and the new board
Yes, sir.
policy is the judge.
Hey, there
You might wanna go slow.
Now you're really in
Wait,
trouble, Mr.
Milburn.
Dolan.
Go over
Yeah,
there.
come
Go
down
down
here.
here.
Come down
Been
here,
sworn
yeah.
in twice.
Actually, be a third time?
Never
Over
can
here.
tell.
I apologize for my lateness. I just really did get things crossed. I sat down
Are you
and
going to, or you
looked
want
at the
me to?
newspaper and said,
Okay.
oh, no. So my apologies about that. Will you repeat after me? Yes, sir. So I, Milburn Dolan,
I, Melvin Nolan,
having been duly elected to the office of member
having been duly elected to the office of member
of the Roswell Independent School District Board of Education
of the Roswell Independent School District Board of Education
in the county of Chaves,
in the county of Chaves,
state of New Mexico,
state of New Mexico,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States,
of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the state of New Mexico,
the Constitution and laws of the state of New Mexico,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same,
and defend them against all enemies,
and defend them against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
and that I will faithfully
and I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge the duties of said office
will discharge the duties of said office
of school board member
of school board member
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my abilities,
so help me God.
so help me God.
All right, you are sworn in.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Might want to check, see if he's got any arrest warrants now.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate it very much.
My apologies
thank
again.
you.
Mr. Dolan, is all my years, you're the only one I know that's had that twice now.
Oh, thanks.
Just send it to you.
Alrighty. We're gonna move on to the approval of the minutes.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of August 11th, 2020, and the special board meeting of August 19th, 2020, with modifications.
Tony,
What
you
are
want to give us your
the
modifications?
modifications?
Oh, yes, two corrections. The corrections, let me pull this up. I do have it in here. Sorry.
Page 8 and page 9.
Okay, page 8, nomination for reorganization. My vote was no instead of yes. And that's on page 9. And page 8, nomination for board member. You have my name down as Ms. Morales instead of Ms. Kirk. She's down twice. So with those corrections, I'll make a motion to approve.
That was my same.
That was yours also?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So may I have a motion to approve with amendments?
So moved.
Okay.
I'd
and-
already-
Thank you, Ms. Kirk. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. We have a motion made by Ms. Kirk and a second made by Mr. Edwards. We have a roll call?
Hope Morales,
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez,
Yes.
Mona Kirk,
Yes.
James Edwards,
Yes.
Milburn Dolan,
Yes.
Okay, the ayes have it and the motion carried. And the consent agenda is now up.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the consent agenda.
Okay. Is there any discussion? If not, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Mr. Edwards and a second made by Ms. Kirk. May we have a roll call, please?
Hope Morales,
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez,
Yes.
Mona Kirk,
Yes.
James Edwards,
Yes.
Milburn Dolan.
Yes.
The ayes have it and the motion carried. Okay, action items are next on the agenda. We have the 2020-2021 increment pay schedule.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the 2020-21 addendum increment pay schedule.
Is there any discussion?
Would like to add, this is where we added the SAT chairs back in.
Thank you.
They had been removed, which was against the federal statute on 504, and we have now implemented the 504 plans and the SAT chairs back in place.
Good.
I wanted to acknowledge when I was a teacher, the stipend for a SAT chair was $1,000 per building, and if you had 2 teachers, you had to split. So each teacher would get 500. So I thank the district for actually increasing that for one teacher or allowing both teachers to get that full amount at $1,000. I had just one question in my understanding, because the stipend amount is a little bit different between a high school department head and a grade level lead or representative. Can you help me understand why the stipend level is so different?
Yes, and a department head, you're having somebody that's a head over the entire English, entire math, entire science, CTE, so you're looking at a
Larger
a large amount of group of people in there.
And graduation.
And so, and you also have some specialties within that same area too. So that's the reason for the 2.
Thank you.
Good question for some that's been asked.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Kirk. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Dolan. We have a motion made by Ms. Kirk and a second made by Mr. Dolan. May I have a roll call, please?
Hope Morales,
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez,
Yes.
Mona Kirk,
Yes.
James Edwards,
Yes.
Milburn Dolan.
Yes.
The ayes have it and the motion carried. Now we have attendance procedures.
Ms. Morales, members of the board, I recommend approval of the attendance procedures.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Yes, members of the board, I do have discussion.
Okay.
One of the requirements under the COVID for from the PED is that we have an emergency attendance procedures in place for this time under COVID. And if you will notice, it is very different in how the policy, it's not versus the policy. This is an emergency one that will only be during this period of time only. A good question was brought up to me by Mrs. Sanchez, and for example, how is a kiddo who does not have a computer taking attendance? So we are doing it a variety of ways. We gave you a list of those things to look at. For the audience, that could be a telephone call, it could be picking up the packets, it could be returning the packets. Those kinds of situations can be, as you also heard from our 2 teachers here earlier, they may not be able to check in until later at night. So what happens is the teacher then has to tell the secretary in the daytime that police check Mike Gottlieb in. He did check in the morning, but he was able to check in later on at night. So it gives us that opportunity to work with our families that may have doctor appointments, childcare issues. As you well know, we're having high school kids doing childcare during this difficult time for parents since we're not in school. So it gives you that kind of motion, and it's a one-time reading only. It is an emergency, and we will not ask for a second reading.
So there is flexibility in taking attendance?
Yes, there is.
So they don't have to just log on at
That's
that
correct.
moment in time?
That's
There's
correct.
like 10 different ways.
Yeah, I saw that. I just want to clarify, because
Yes.
that has been,
And there
an issue
actually
with
could
mine.
even be more,
okay,
but we listed at least 10 other ways that parents can do that.
nice.
Mr. Gottlieb, do we have a percentage of families with a working contact information?
Say that again, Ms. Sanchez?
Is there a percentage, does the district have a percentage of families with the working contact information?
With work contact information.
Well,
Working
That we're not
contact
able to.
on our STARS information or SASE, no, boy, we're just dated.
Power School.
Power
Sassy,
School,
yeah.
wow. Sorry about that,
You
board.
took a couple years off.
But, yeah, Power School, we have that information, and if it's been updated. We have asked the principals to send home as much as they possibly can, email, snail mail, however, to update whatever information we have, because we know that changes, Ms. Sanchez and members of the board.
Yeah.
So we do have that if they provide it with us. In bearing to that question, I'll get you the count days once I verify everything. And our next one will be, I believe it's on the 20th. It's 10 days from the last 10-day count. So we'll get you that information.
Mr. Gottlieb, I have a question. I just want to make sure, I know it's not our intent if a family is having technology issues, we don't want to count the student absent if it's because their internet crashed that day or something like that. But I know there are some kinks happening right now where some students are getting marked absent, but they've attempted to be on. Should they just email the teacher? Is that the best thing for those families to do?
There's 3 ways they can get in contact with us. One is email when it's up and working. Because we all know that because everybody in the world is basically online, things are pretty tough. So they can email us, they can call us, or they can contact the school personally. Actually, there's 4 ways. Or they can just say, help, I'm having problems with it. They can drop it off at lunchtime, at the lunch line saying, will you please get this to the building principal, we're having this issue. We'll work with the parents however we can and make sure that we're getting them attendance. It is very important. Along with that, we still have to do our due diligence in making contacts with the families if we're having an issue under the 3-tiered system. So I know some of that is going on, but if you guys have that problem, either let me know or let the building principal know right away, hey, my kid's not able to, the attendance is not working. If you let me know, I'll get it done right away. It's an immediate thing. But you should always tell the parent, go back to the school. If they can't get it, let me know and I'll take care of it as soon as I possibly can.
So I'm going to follow up on that question. Would you recommend the student contacting the teacher after the parents already contacted the school saying, no, my child was online, was working, and the school says, no, the teachers, you have to contact the teacher? Would you recommend the student contacting or the
I would
parent?
prefer the parent.
Okay,
Now, remember, if the child is 18, they are their own guardian.
yeah.
It's just a little reminder, because sometimes it's hard for parents to understand that, especially if they're home, because I had the same argument with my 2.
Okay,
So, as you're in my house, I'm sorry.
yeah,
That's the way it is, but
thank you.
there is that distinction, Ms. Kirk.
Okay,
And so if this is approved tonight, Mr. Gottlieb, this will be shared with the teacher so that they're aware of all the different ways that can count. for
We have
attendance.
already shared it ahead of time, letting them know that we're taking this as an emergency. When it's finalized, if it's finalized tonight, then I have a principal meeting first thing in the morning. I will also make sure, it's already on my agenda.
they already know, they'll know. Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you for the questions, Board.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion made by Mr. Edwards and a second made by Ms. Kirk. May I have a roll call, please?
Hope Morales.
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez.
Yes.
Mona Kirk.
Yes.
James Edwards.
Yes.
Milburn Dolan.
Yes.
The ayes have it, and the motion carried. Okay, next, moving on to reports. Mr. Gottlieb?
Yeah, we have lots to report on for tonight. We'll start off, and Jennifer, I hope you're still online. We have lots to talk about on the beginning of school. As you know, the first 4 days were pretty rough, and it's still a learning curve for everybody. As Ms. Morales said, the first week should be get ready. The second week should be
On your mark.
on your mark, and
get
the
set,
third
and then
week
go.
is go. In reality, it's been that way. It really has. We're learning. We all of us are learning the difficulty of teaching online, how we do these things differently. If you have a kid that needs extra help in reading or math or social studies, whatever the difficulty is, it's that much harder because that teacher's not there to pull them. So one of the things that we're going to be starting up is you heard the parent call in that Jennifer's starting that up. We're starting with the end of this week, beginning of next week, as soon as we can get everything aligned, we are going to start tutoring online. So if you're having trouble with Algebra 1, there'll be a link to this session. If you're having trouble with 5th grade math, here's a link to this session. So the hard part of this is, of course, finding the staff who've been teaching all day and their own kids and their own situations that they have, willing to serve that time during the week to go online. Because we know all of you have referred kids to me that said, hey, Mike is really struggling with writing. So why can't we get him some tutoring? Well, as you well know, we can't bring anybody back to the building with the exception of the 2 groups we already have. And that's by direction of the governor. We don't have a choice on that. So how else are we going to provide this help for individuals, help for our students? So we're going to start up with tutoring. We're going to pay through it through our CARES funds and pay for it that way for the staff that are willing to do that and provide that extra tutoring. And we'll do it as long as we need to do it and as long as we're online and maybe even afterwards. This may be a great way to supply another support system within the educational field. So we're looking for staff to sign up for those areas, be it ESL, be it whatever the subject we can find people to help us with, we're going to be looking for those staff to help us. So that's one of those things as you go along within your system of something you've never done. I've never seen what we're doing now in my 32, 33 years plus of education, of all the issues we've had to deal because of COVID, and how difficult it is for parents, how difficult it is for teachers, and of course near and dear to our heart, or else we wouldn't be here, how difficult this has been for kids. And it has been extremely difficult for all of the above. It is not something I would recommend doing right out of the blue. It just, the gate wasn't even getting ready to open and we were out. So it makes it very, very difficult in that situation. So we're looking to go down that road. You're going to run across bumps. I'm just going to tell you. One of the things we know is Zoom is going to cut out this free section. Yeah, it's coming. Mm-hmm. What we have done is we purchased it through the CARES Act, support for all our staff. I think 1,200 licenses, Royce? 1,200 licenses for Zoom for the district. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to give us actually more power for the teacher, more controls for the teacher, but guess what, guys? More training for the teachers. Whenever you do something, you got to remember, this doesn't come without issues when you do stuff like that, but I don't want to lose Zoom. We've tried 3 other platforms. Zoom is the easiest. It's been the best. It's been the most consistently up and running. So that will be one of those issues we had to go up, and that was really the vote from the staff, is please keep Zoom. I was right there with them trying the other platforms, and we found Zoom to be the easiest, and it came back to us and said, please keep it. So along with that, though, we are going to have to do a little extra training, and Royce is going to keep me informed and keep our staff informed, or hopefully roll it out a little bit at a time. But they had told us end of August, and then maybe September, since all of the United States is probably, and other countries are using Zoom too. I don't know what they're gonna do, but we paid for ours, we're ready to go in case it's lost, and we now have more rights to Zoom than you normally would have. So that's coming up in that. Royce, did you want to add anything onto that, since you're my caretaker on that?
Just real briefly, so, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent, we did order the 1,200. It took a while for us to get them. We just got in, and so now we're waiting to provision. And so I'm waiting for our customer service manager to actually get in contact with me over that, because we want to make sure we keep it smooth. So what I'm hoping we can do, and I think we can do this, is just everybody who is used on that, we can take control over our domain. So anybody who created an email address or create an account with Zoom under our domain, we can just pull it in. But I'm double checking anything, because I don't want to pull it in and then we're not quite ready, and then they don't, for some reason they stop working. So and when they send us the stuff, they send us a ton of documentation. So it's just one of these things where I want to make sure that we don't have hiccups that are going to cause more issues. So, but we're in the middle of working on it. So that's it.
Okay, thank you, Royce. Any
Thank
questions for Royce on that? It's again, is making all these platforms, as you showed you last board meeting, it's not just one thing. It's all of them. And the thing that I know the board realizes this, but when you see the staff, to thank them for all their work that they're doing for kids, the teachers, the principals, the technology group, the amount of work that's going on to try to educate the kids the best way we can in a most very difficult situation. We just can't thank them enough for all their work and their dedication. So just kind of wanted to bring that up. Jennifer, I know Ms. Morales has some questions about restarting school once we get into hybrid, but before we get to that, Ms. Cole, do you have some things you want to bring up to the board on our first few weeks of back to school?
Well, I wasn't prepped for that question, Mr. Gottlieb, but
How about
this?
I
want to echo what you said, and just that it's a learning curve for all of us. None of us have ever restarted school under the conditions that we have restarted school this year. And so we just have an amazing team of people who have worked day and night on technology and training, and our teachers are just dedicated to our students. And so we're trying to be very responsive to all the things that come up. And every day there's something that, whether it's a technology thing that we didn't realize was happening, or and some good things too. I mean, we have some pretty cool plans for some Canvas competitions coming up, and so staff are just really working hard, and it's a learning process, and we're going to continue to work hard to support our students and give them a great education.
Jennifer, why don't you talk about the social and emotional support that group has been working on?
Oh, okay. Yes, sir. So our counselors, specifically our elementary counselors, and headed up by Mr. Gosher, but we'll bring in the secondary counselors as well, have just been working on a connectivity piece. And so we started with some of our community agencies and our counselors. So we had CASA, and we had Wings for Life, and we had our juvenile probation office, and all of those people around the table to look at a support system for connecting with students that may be struggling, or with families that are hard to reach, or may have some just additional needs. And how do we make sure that we're finding those families, or that we're offering them a place to do self-referrals in case they have some needs. And so we're just finalizing some of that, but we've had some good things happening. So we have CASA and Wings for Life have started their programs in the school this week, and so they're doing those virtually. And so those are the building assets, and the Y-Try, and the Girls Circle, and the Boys Leadership, all of those social emotional programs. We have the referral process established and ready to go for parents and families to be able to self-refer through the website. And then we've also, the elementary, and Lauren Dillard, who was one of our middle school counselors, developed a referral process from within the school for teachers to refer students when they find something. And so it's, Mr. Gottlieb saw how that's set up, the process from the time that the teachers refer to when it goes to the counselor, and then if there's a need for that building principal then to make a referral to an outside agency for additional supports. And we'll be collecting data on all of that and advertising it very well to our teachers and to our community. As a result of this, we've also had some outreach from agencies. For example, our juvenile probation office contacted us a couple of weeks ago, and they had collected water bottles and donations of food. And so we partnered with them, and Helen Jeremiah, who's our attendance officer, distributed some of those to our schools who have the backpack programs and send food home with families. And so just lots of really good connection pieces happening with our communities and with our counselors right now.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Another part, board members, that sometimes we don't acknowledge enough is our coaches. Because when you talk about emotional support, you don't realize what these activities, and I'm talking music, I'm talking dance, I'm talking your sports, I'm talking all those things, the clubs, those teachers are still getting those things, those coaches are still doing those programs, and they're still meeting with those kids the best they can, be it Zoom, the small group, whatever the situation happens to be. One of the strong things, not just here in Roswell, but statewide, what they're finding is that kids are really struggling with that emotional support, not being around their peers, not being around a school setting. Most people didn't realize how important that was, that school setting, that emotional support. When you don't have it, that's when you realize it. It's kind of like your freedom. You don't realize what you had until you lose it. Well, it's the same thing for our kids and our families finding this out, that how nice it is to have school, how nice it is for them to come to school and get not only education, but get the social and emotional togetherness as you work as a team, as a family member. It's kind of hard to develop a good team leader or a member if you're not at school working as a team. So those coaches and those activities bring that together, just like Jennifer was talking about. So there's a lot of things that are going on that board I could go on that are really happening. A lot of good things. Yes, we're still going to struggle. Yes, we're still going to have bad days. It's just part of the game of what we're doing, but we're getting better as we're going forward, and appreciate your support. So I know Ms. Morales, you had some questions, and some of the other board members had some questions for us.
Okay. Does anybody want to go?
I've already asked mine. I've got mine answered. I just want to comment. Today they started conditioning at the high school specifically, and I tell you what a difference. My son came home, sat on the floor with a bottle of water, and said, "I cannot move." You know how wonderful that was for me to hear that? Because I'm worried about our kids and having endurance, because when they're at school, they're required to perform and have that endurance. And when they're not, when they're at home, I've seen with my own child how he has gotten lazy, left things undone, and the support's not there. It's just the routine and the expectations. So I know how difficult it is on my child. I'm sure it's difficult with the teachers, and God bless y'all. I'm just worried. I am. I'm worried, and I lose sleep over it. But thank you. Every teacher out there, thank you from the bottom of my heart. My 35 years of experience says thank you.
And I was excited about tonight. It's always a challenge for us to say things out there as individuals, so I was looking forward to the board meeting because there was a lot that I kind of wanted to say on this topic. And the first thing is, a lot of things have to go right And our kiddos have to have a lot of things in order for distance learning to go right. They have to have technology, access to the internet. They have to know how to use the online programs. They have to have adult supervision that can help them navigate for it, especially our elementary kiddos, but not just them. And if they don't have one of those things, distance learning is going to be a huge challenge for them. And just as important as it is for us to look at the data related to COVID-19 and what we're doing to keep our community safe, I think it's also important that we make a substantial effort for individual students and their circumstances. I think we talk a lot about the overall numbers and the data, but I want us to remember those stories that are happening in our community. And here's just 3 quick examples. Here's a young child who stays with his grandparents during the day because his parents work. The grandparents only speak Spanish and they don't know how to navigate the technology. So this young kiddo, is in a safe home, but is at a disadvantage with the distance learning model. I have another mom who's a stay-at-home mom. She's doing her best to actually be there to help her kindergarten student through the distance learning, but she also has 2 other infants. So she's asking me, how does she support one child while taking care of her other children while dad is at work? And the third story is of a single mom. She has 2 children in 5th and 6th grade. She works full-time, and she does not have support for her kiddos at home. She can't leave work every time they call when there's a technology issue. She can't help them navigate from work because she's working. So these are just 3 stories that I heard of recently, and I just want to make sure that we're continuing to do our best to meet their needs with good communication and support and providing flexibility when needed. So I'm a little bit concerned the longer that this is happening and all these stories are happening and talking about the social emotional support, it's challenging. When we talk about numbers, I'm afraid we know some of the damages now, but I think this is going to be huge long term, and we don't realize the impact it's going to have on kiddos.
Well, I do, and that's why I lose sleep.
With that statement, board, we do need to have a serious discussion, and only the board can make this discussion. And Ms. Morales and I have had a precursory discussion on this. If and when we get to go back to school with our AB model, starting off with our elementary, what does the board want to do? By that, let me give you some examples. Let's say this Thursday, and this is only example, so please, nobody at home think this is happening. Let's say the governor says, Chaves County, you can go back. The board actually has to direct me to say, are we going back? And if we are going back, when are we going back? It's that important. I gave to Ms. Morales some thoughts on this issue. One of the issues is we probably should do a 3-question poll to our staff and to our families. Just 3 questions. Don't get into this big long thing like we did this summer. We don't have that kind of time. So if that opportunity happens, and it's not going to be for a while, guys, our numbers are still too high. I'm just going to tell you. It's going to be a while unless there is some miracle that happens. That the board's going to have to direct me to say, do a survey, how quick the turnaround survey time is, and find out the results, and then determine whether or not you want to start up the AB model. Now, as you well know through these stories, and I can give you some stories that are much worse, I promise you, that are going on in community, about bringing our kids back to probably some of the best place they can be. Okay? And you always have to balance what's happening with COVID with the needs of kids and families. You have those single mothers. You have, sometimes they have 2 and 3 jobs.
Or single fathers.
And single fathers. Single caretaker, how about that? Because we do have grandparents.
Yes.
We have aunts and uncles. We have friends. I mean, literally, I have letters from people saying, there's nobody taking care of these kids. I'm taking care of the kid. So I get them through a route to how to help take care of those kids legally, to get the legal rights to do that. So, but the board has to balance those feelings with the needs of your kids. They're your kids' board. We need to feed them, we need to educate them, we have to socially, emotionally bring them up to a good spot, and hopefully make them great citizens. All in the same boat at the same time, and this is what our great teachers do in the classroom every day, and see those issues. So I leave that open for discussion, Ms. Morales, because that is not an easy answer. That is not just off the cuff what you're going to do as a board. You're going to have to direct me what you want to do, how quick you want to do it, because the parents need to be informed if and when that happens. And that also includes, once elementary starts, then middle school, and then high school. So that's a discussion that either you can have tonight or at a different meeting, but it's an issue that we need to have some discussion on.
My first thought is, why don't we contemplate that scenario, and during our board retreat, maybe open it up for discussion.
Maybe that can be on the agenda.
Okay.
And I want to make sure our families know that they will still have the right to choose a distance learning option for them if that works for them. You know, it's not going to be forcing families to choose this. They will still have the choice.
No, we've already done that for the middle and high school. The elementary, when we get to that point, we can move forward on that point, because it will still be used in the same platforms we're using right now. That doesn't change. It will just continue on through that point.
They'll have options.
Right.
But I'd like to add something else. And in the same token, I understand the family's issues, because I've talked to Mr. Gottlieb about the issues. The issues you talked about, he's heard some issues that I brought up to him. But we also can't lose sight that, hey, like you said, it's not going to happen overnight, and it's going to take time. But we also got to think about our staff, because there's going to be that transition period that the staff is going to have to make. They're not going to be able to just flick that switch on and say, hey, I'm transitioning from online to going to the classroom, because I've heard numerous issues come up from different schools, from different staff members that have called me and brought those issues up. Because you got to understand, we have a lot of our staff, teachers, administrators, faculty, janitors, cooks, their kids are affected by this, and these people are going to be affected by it as well when that time comes, whether we go back or not. And I know one of the things that's been passed on to me by different schools, they're going to have some time to have that transition, or else we're just going to flip on a switch, and that switch isn't going to turn on. You know, so I think in the same token, I think we need to look at it at that, like you said, at the retreat. It gives us some time to think about it, and like Mr. Gottlieb said, he doesn't see it happening anytime soon. I've heard that from some other people just walking through Sam's. So I think we ought to look at it during the retreat, because it gives us some time to think about what we want to do, because we need a plan. And it doesn't need to be, hey, we're just going to do this. There's got to be buy-in on every side. So that's, huh?
I was just gonna ask for a couple of minutes afterward, James.
Okay.
And, but at the same time, we did this on a 3-week notice, what we're in right now. So I don't know when the retreat is.
September 22nd.
Okay.
22nd.
22nd?
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome to the board, Mr. Dole.
Thanks, Mr. Gottlieb. Hadn't seen that email yet. But, you know, you talk about student staff. Some staff won't return. We've got to make accommodations for those. The AB schedule. You know, who's going to teach those kids on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, Friday when they have to staff in? You know, with additional students sanitizing. How's that going to be done? Well, those things in place. That's why I just think that the sooner the better. That's what I was going to ask. When is this retreat? because we've gotta have a plan.
Mr. Dolan, I forgot to send you all our stuff for our plan. Okay, I'm gonna blow up your email, I'm sorry.
I'll just catch up as I go, you know?
The good news is this summer, that's what the district was applying for, so a lot of those questions have been answered, but we probably need to relook at some of that.
Review.
But
And we have a new toolkit that the state just sent out Friday. But we're in pretty good shape on that part.
Okay.
There's 3 major questions, and those are the major questions that did come up.
And so also board aligned with that discussion and at the workshop, would you all be okay with us adding, if this continues longer term, would you all like us to discuss the option of perhaps bringing small students back to school site, like our kindergarten kiddos, 5 per group? I know that's something that's allowed right now. And if this goes longer term, do we want to look into the district possibly doing that or not? Or
I think right now, anything's on the table.
Yeah,
And
I think that's a
It's up
discussion.
for discussion at
Yeah.
the retreat.
I've got 2 kindergartner grandkids, and they need that social interaction.
Yeah.
Okay? It's just part of those building skills, that if they don't get built early, you can't go back and ingrain them later.
And I'll bring both the con and the pro for both of those issues, because it's not just parent, it's not just student, it's also staff issues that we have to deal with on that issue. So it'll be a for whatever one thing we do.
There's
as Mr.
repercussions,
As
yes,
Mr. Edwards and I
yes.
have had several discussions on this topic, it has a ripple effect
Yes.
on the road, and you have to look at all 3 entities. And the fourth, of course, your entity is your building itself, the part that you brought up, the sanitation, the cleaning, all those issues. So that's a good discussion topic, very good discussion topic.
so I'll make sure those things get on the agenda, and we'll be talking about that in a few minutes. You want to go to your financial?
Mr. Cole? Mr. Cole?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
We can hear you.
Financial report, revenue, expenditures, and activities of 8/31/2020.
Excellent. Yes, sir. Members of the board, thank you. You've got there in front of you our year-to-date revenue and expenditure report as of August 31st. Activity, knowing that our fiscal year started July 1, so there's not a whole lot going on there in terms of expenditure activity. You can see what's been budgeted in terms of both the revenue and the expenditures. Of course, revenue and expenditures should always balance and net to zero. I think the big one to just look at is the operational fund, 11,000. You can see in that revenue line item, the revenue line item is the 11,000 followed by 4 zeros. The 4 zeros indicates that it's revenue. Expenditures are always function 1,000 through 5,000, so that's a quick way to identify those. Revenues are always identified as 4 zeros. They're also reflected as a negative or a credit balance, as they should be. But you can see there that the operational fund, you've got $98 million currently budgeted. Now, we're waiting on an adjustment from the Public Education Department. So we fully anticipate that we'll be bringing to you in October a budget decrease to the operational fund. Just a rough estimate looking at the change in the state's unit value factored by the factors that we built our budget around, that was approved by the board and by the Public Education Department as of July 1. We know that unit value is going to decrease. What is probably in the offering as well are some changes to total units. So I'll give you an example, K through 5 plus program and ELTP, Extended Learning Time program. Those membership units are subject to change based on some of the House Bill 1, some of the new requirements for additional days, which the board has been good enough to go back and revise our calendar for a second time, and that's always a big deal. But those are going to be factors as well, and so we're kind of in limbo waiting to see what's going to happen there to get the specific membership and unit changes that will decrease the budget. Roughly speaking, I'm anticipating at least a $4 million decrease to the operational fund. So that would put it at 94 million as opposed to 98 million. You've also got some bars that you approved on the consent agenda tonight that were decreases. We know that our student transportation fund was decreased, mandatory decrease of $129,000. That's a decrease on the contractor side. And again, I just reiterate that we work with our local bus contractors every year, and they've seen us through some good times, and they've seen us through some bad times. And they've always been very flexible and very accommodating. And so I just want them to know how much we appreciate them for that. This is an off-budget year for them. Now we know that some of their costs are going to go down, fuel costs in particular these first couple of months. But we also know that some of their costs are likely to go up as we go into an A-B model, potentially, maybe, could be. Fuel costs may go up in terms of the number of routes that have to be taken to split off those numbers to achieve that. So really this year is an outlier year. It's going to be an interesting year. Mr. Gottlieb and I talk about budget daily in some regard. The nice thing is we both understand accounting and budgets and monitoring and controlling the district's costs. Back in 2008, 2009, the last time we experienced something relatively similar to this, Mr. Gottlieb was right there guiding the way. And again, it's about controlling our costs and anticipating our revenue. So we're doing those things. There's nothing wild or woolly in this report. As you go through it, I would encourage you, any questions that you have, if you see some later, just shoot me an email or give me a call. Always happy to answer your questions and communicate.
Any questions for Mr. Cole?
No, thank you.
Moving on to,
Thank you, board members.
thank you, sir. Moving on to board communication. And I definitely always bring my questions and concerns to the superintendent whenever there's something. So I wanted to make sure that I'm also helping to acknowledge whenever there are great things going on. Now, the district received acknowledgement from the state before the state, and interrupt me if I'm saying this wrong, sir, but before the state actually shared out toolkits for districts to use kind of as a model, Roswell had created their own reporting process for COVID. They were one of the first, and that process was acknowledged by the district for the great work on that.
Thank you, Ms. Miles. Katie's our head nurse, did an outstanding job. Lots of help. She had her other nurses helping. Ms. Cole helped with that issue, and Shelley from special ed helped. And after looking at the toolkit and what they developed and went through the process, we're in very good shape.
Excellent.
On not having to adjust anything that we have. In fact, I think our maps are even a little bit better than because you've seen what we've done. I'll give you the toolkit and you can look it off on the assurances. The only thing we haven't got in yet, we've got everything in yet. The dividers came in today. So, Mr. Edwards, when we get those dividers up, I want to take you to go see one. Or, hey, I know what we'll do. We'll take a picture and share it with the board. Everybody can see it. They're really nice, very nice.
And where will they be?
Dividers for the nurses' room
Oh,
and
nurses.
isolation rooms that Mr. Edwards questioned
Nice.
me at the very, very beginning when we went through Del Norte, is our wipes, our sanitation wipes, the 2.5 gallon buckets, they've been on order for 3 months. Supposedly, they're gonna be in the warehouse this Friday and shipped directly to us. So I'll let you know when that comes in, because that's the last part of all the assurances we told the state we would have. And ours is an extra. We have the Husky spray and all those things in place. Teachers are using it, principals, custodians are using it. The wipes is just one more protection for our classrooms. So
Another
that will be
layer.
one more thing that we have to end up doing.
Good.
So thank you, Ms. Morales, I appreciate that.
And the discussion for hybrid learning, we'll make sure to move that to our agenda for the workshop. So it is going to be Tuesday, September 22nd, starting at 9 a.m. Mr. Tony Ortiz will be here to give us some training. We'll also discuss the process for our superintendent search, and we will add in the hybrid model discussion and small group discussion. If you have anything else that you want added to the agenda, just email Mr. Gottlieb and let him know. And we'll also be in contact with the specific location for that meeting.
Oh, it won't be held
But
here?
we don't have a
No.
place
Okay.
yet.
We'll get you the agenda and location.
Okay,
Read
sounds
also.
good. Yeah.
Right now, do we have any other announcements from the board? I know Ms. Kerr.
Yes, I have some information I want to share on the upcoming census, since it's right around the corner. The importance of the census data. The 2020 census will be determined, part of what the 2020 census does. It determines the congressional representation, informs hundreds of billions in federal funding every year for the next 10 years, and provides data that will impact our Roswell community for the next decade. The results determine the number of seats each state has in the House of Representatives. The data is used to draw congressional and state legislative districts. It's so important for us and our representation in the legislature. Over the next decade, lawmakers, business owners, and many others will use 2020 census data to make critical decisions. The results will show where communities' needs of new schools, new clinics, new roads, and many more services for families, older adults, and children. The results will also inform hundreds of billions of dollars in federal funding are allocated to more than 100 programs, including Medicaid, Head Start, school lunch programs, highway construction, education, block grants for community mental health services, and SNAP, and that's just to name a few of the 100. Roswell to date, and I just got this email off the website, our response rate to date is 64.1% respond. That's not inclusive of the numerators data that they've collected. That's only the response rate that our local citizens have responded to. In order for us to hit that magical number of 50,000, we need to have a response rate of at least 74% of households. Last decade, we were at around 68, and we did not hit that magical 50K. So we definitely need everyone to respond in order to get all those programs that I just alluded to. Currently, in September the 30th is our last day to respond to the 2020 census. So that means we have 22 days left. September the 30th is the last day. Each resident that responds generates $37,450 over the decade. $37,450 over the next 10 years. School districts, us, receive a majority of that money, that major disbursement of money. That is why it's so important for each of us in the school district to do our part and respond. Reminder, on September 28th, that's my census spiel. I am passionate about it. I've been working very diligently to help us achieve that 50,000. So I have one more announcement before we move on. A reminder, on September the 28th at 5 p.m., we have our Region 6 meeting via Zoom. And typically what we do is each district hosts that meeting, but since we're no longer able to travel because of the governor's health orders, we will have it via Zoom at 5 o'clock on the 28th. And I think we all received the information from Mr. Guillen to log on. And I just sent him your information, Mr. Dolan, so he will be sending you the email. And thank you. That concludes all my information.
Mona, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
What was the original ending day for the census?
Okay, so the original ending date was March, April, May the something, I think. Then it got extended because of COVID to October 31st. But right now, it's in court. I know there
October
was
or
a,
It's already been,
September.
it's already been ruled.
it's
They extended the time.
beyond September 30th? Okay, I haven't seen the latest. So if it had, I know it was in court, but September the 30th was the last day I've seen.
Yeah, it just ruled,
Good. So
extend the time.
did you get an extension, the date? Did you
I
find out?
think it's gonna be all the way to October. the
October
31st.
31st, so,
So Mona,
yes.
quick math, one person from each county is $1 million that does not complete the census. Just so, that's how little a number we have to affect us. So one person per county is gonna cost us $1 million over that time. Also, that data, people want more
37,000.
businesses here in Roswell. They don't get those businesses if a
Without-
business can't see that they have a metropolitan area to bring them to. You know, I
That
always
magic
hear,
number.
oh, why can't we get an Olive Garden? Because you don't have 50,000 people.
Yes.
We have 50,000, they just have to be counted. That's the end of my spiel.
Thank you. Thank you for the support.
Don't get me started.
Okay,
Businesses don't just come here because of 50,000.
But it's a factor, James.
Yes,
It is a factor, but when you look at your tax base, that's also a factor for business, any business.
Alrighty, this is the end of the agenda. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So, second?
Have a motion by Ms. Kirk and a second by Ms. Sanchez. May I have a roll call, please?
Hope Morales,
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez,
Yes.
Mona Kirk,
Yes.
James Edwards,
Yes.
Milburn Dolan,
Yes.
And time of adjournment